So we're live, Brian. So I'm happy to be here with you. I see you're sitting outside.
It is. I'm in the Dallas area, and it's a really, really nice, because usually, a month ago, this would have been miserable and I'd be sweaty and stuff like that. And it's really nice, a little bit of a breeze. And we're about to get, Sabrina and I were talking, so everybody knows, off air. There's a cold front coming in, and it's supposed to be like the high tomorrow. It's 72 today. The high tomorrow is going to be like 40. So we Texan folk don't do too well in that kind of environment.
No, we do not.
40 I think should be a weather day.
Yeah, actually looking forward to sweater weather though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I want it cooler. I'd prefer the cool versus the hot, but it's so it's a little, but it's still, because our hot, like I've said before, is 5 billion degrees, and it's humid and it's sweaty and it's uncomfortable and stuff like that. So yeah, I certainly will take that. But I've told everybody before, a lot of you guys know that I'm originally from San Diego, and it's like the temperature is always 72, 74 degrees kind of thing. It's one of it goes to that old joke that the best job in the world is to be the weatherman in San Diego, because you get on TV and they'll go like, what's the weather like? And Sabrina sends it over to me and goes, Brian, what's the weather like? And I'm like, nice. Back to you.
Back to you. So I'm happy to be here. I know you have a deadline approaching. So
big FEMA grant.
Big FEMA. Yeah, big FEMA grant. Actually, I have a friend that works for FEMA. She was just complaining last night because she's never home. Because there's always, unfortunately, knock on wood, there's always an emergency somewhere.
Yep.
And so they have to be on call, and they have to go where the emergency.
Luckily, we have FEMA. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're very blessed to have FEMA. So,
yep.
But today we're going to be talking about.
I give up. I'm just kidding. I know I'm supposed to lead this into you because you're the expert on this one. That when your board doesn't raise money, or how do you get your board raising money, or how do you encourage your board to raise money, or any of those things.
When your board don't fundraise.
I will start off. I will start off because I'm going to be more of the host on this one. But a lot of times, board people are segmented. What they've got to understand is, as board members, it's their responsibility to help the entire organization grow. But don't get me wrong. I had a guy who was on my board who's one of the best fundraisers ever, who was a used car salesman, and he knew how to talk to people and tell them what they were doing. And our Boys and Girls Club does this. So you've got those kind of people. We had people who are uber rich, and it's not that they just give you money. It's people want to be associated with them. So if some uber rich guy says, hey, I'd like you to be a whole sponsor sign for our golf tournament, 250, there's that kind of person.
Right.
But then there's the type of person, which I'd say is the majority of the people. And the reason why people don't like being on boards is because they don't like to fundraise. They don't like to ask for money, because people, they feel that, like me as the customer, me as the community, see that as you're a pain and leave me alone, and you're kind of annoying me, and we'll find money elsewhere, and those kind of things. Right. So, but it's got to be a collective effort. And so
it does have to be a collective effort. And I just feel go ahead.
Well, how do you, as being the, like I said, being the queen of board stuff, how do you get a board to raise money collectively?
Yeah. Collectively. So I think that is the thing, the collective. I think you have to start off with what are the expectations for each individual board member. So, there's something to be said about when you are having the recruitment conversation, that you also talk about fundraising. Now, there's fundraising with the lowercase f, and there's fundraising with the big F. But when I say lowercase f, what I'm basically saying is, look, there's certain things like if you have an event, right? That's the lowercase f. Every board member has to sell a table at this event. Or every board member has to secure a whole sponsor, whatever that is. Right. That's, to me, that's the lowercase f. That is the pathway. That is the minimum. The big F is what I consider relational fundraising. And that the big F is actually only 5% of fundraising, which is asking for money. So where people get lost is they don't understand what fundraising is. And really, fundraising is about identifying the right people, building the relationship with those people on behalf of the organization, and then leveraging your relationship that you've built with them to give them an opportunity to invest in something they believe in.
Right.
So as you're getting to know them, you're seeing, oh, okay, you're a youth serving organization. Do youth serving, is this something they would like to support? Or you believe in the environment or whatever that is. They believe in the environment. Is this something they like to support? And so we boil it down to, I think where the fear and all that comes in is we boil it down to, I gotta sell this table. I gotta sell this raffle ticket. And that's transactional. It's so transactional. What I wanted my board members to invest their time in was getting to know people and building relationships, because the real money is what you refer to as peer-to-peer campaign.
Mhm.
The real money is at one individual asking another individual to invest in the mission of an organization. That's the real fundraising.
And part of it is like you said, getting beyond the transactional side of things. Because yeah, am I asking somebody for $500, or am I saying, hey, can you help us get a new computer for the kids? Can you help us buy more food? Can you help us?
Right.
Because that's what we're doing, and they've got to understand that it's not just, oh, gosh, okay,
I
can
gotta
you just
sell this
give me
table.
some money and
Right.
yeah, you're it. Here's one thing I'll throw at you before I hit you with my next question
Mm-hmm.
is people and boards and stuff have to understand also that it's a um, uh, education process too. You've got to let people know what you do, and
Right.
I don't want to rehash everything I said when we had the summit a week or so ago, but it's one of those situations where I had board members of the Boys and Girls Club who said, what do you do for kids? Um, Good things, right? Oh yeah, no, we do bad things. Yes, it's educating the community about. They might have that general 10,000 foot overview of, yeah, Boys and Girls Club does good things for kids. The Humane Society does good things for animals. No. At the Humane Society, what we're doing right now is we're making sure that 1,000 extra animals are not getting just put to sleep because nobody will adopt them. We're helping
Right.
adopt them out, or things like that. That's what we've got to explain to people is what your impact is. And I always say, talk to them like they're eighth graders. And I don't mean that in an insulting way. When I know that when Sabrina and I talk, when we talk, um, we know all the Boys and Girls Clubs, OJP and all, we know all the acronyms and stuff
Acronyms.
that everybody should know, right? No,
Right.
they don't.
So let me interject, because here's the thing. We invite people to our boards and we don't educate them on a lot of the things. But here's the one thing that you can do that will educate your board members, so that when they do go out and talk about their service on the board and someone asks them, well, what do you do? It will help them. So you can start your board meetings off with mission moments. It sounds simple, but it's a real tool. So if you are youth serving, that's what I did. I had a cute kid come to the board meeting, every single board meeting, and they would take the first 5 minutes on the agenda and they would say, my name is Sabrina. This is the school I go to, blah, blah, blah. And then the board would ask them a couple of questions. Well, why do you come to the after school program? Or why do you come to the Boys and Girls Club? And they'll say like, well, because my mommy works and she can't pick me up after school, or because my brother goes here or there. And they'll ask, what is the one thing you would change about the club? And they would say, well, I don't like the food. I want better food. It never failed. Or the one reason we got a new building is because child after child came into our meeting and said, I would change our building because every time it rains, it floods. This inspired my board to get off their tuckus and raise $12 million for a new building. Now, It's a simple thing. I serve on a historical museum, and every board meeting I go to, I went to one today, they will have some type of exhibit up that we can walk around the room and look at, or the CEO will share some story with us. If you're an animal shelter, bring a daggone dog or a cat or whatever it is to the meeting. It's a simple thing. These are
Right.
simple things that you can start at the very next board meeting. You can
Right.
tell, I serve on a startup board. It's 4 years old, and we introduce mission moments. So, and we're not an organization that provides that. We finally have a facility now, but we don't provide hands-on every day. But every board member is looking for that mission moment when we're out in the community. So
Right.
it keeps our ear to the ground so that when we have our meeting, which is tonight, we will start with, does anybody have a mission moment?
Well, and that's the other thing. Mission moments are individual, because I've had board members tell me, well, what's my mission moment? I was like, come down and volunteer once a week and
Yes,
bond with a kid. Go work at the soup kitchen and look at somebody who tells you their story about why they became homeless and what happened,
yes,
and just helping them. It's got to be an emotional connection for you to want to do it and want to make the world a better place.
right,
That's
right. Yeah, and then in lieu of them not coming in to volunteer, bring a kid into the meeting,
right.
because what will happen is when they go to that chamber meeting, or they go to that Rotary meeting, or they go to the city council meeting, or whatever it is, they're going to be, when somebody asks them about the organization, they are going to say, they're going to remember Sabrina's story, or they're going to remember Brian's story. And that's
Right.
the story that they're going to share. One of the best examples that I had that was given to me was a zoo, and they bought in a snake during the board meeting. Now, what do you think all of those board members were talking about when they left that board meeting?
I'm sure it became a joke too, where they said, "Hey, I'll be at the next board meeting if you don't bring a snake." But they always remember
bring a snake,
exactly.
or they go home and like, can you believe I touched a snake today?
Right.
And they talk to their wife about the organization, and that generates excitement. So you got to figure out how to generate excitement with your board. But one of the most simple things you can do is a mission moment. And if you say, well, my mission is very sensitive, we work with abused spouse or whatever. Right. Look, you can bring in a staff person that talks about a client that they just worked with without giving a name. Yep. You can do, I also call them, if you not ready for the mission moments, you can do, I call them mingle moments, because I serve on a large board. It's like 24 of us. Right. Some of those people I never met. So we take 2 to 5 minutes at the top of the board meeting, and we talk to each other about, why do you serve on this board? Who got you involved in this organization? Well, and so you can literally plan that out for the year.
Oh, and what's the important part of that is that human contact. Because if you recall, you and I have talked about this a bunch in many of these forums when you and I do them together. The best part for me when we did Boys and Girls Club stuff was like the Southwest Leadership Conference, because not only do I get good training from the Boys and Girls Club America folks, but then I get to talk to the guy in Arkansas and say, right. What does your club do? Oh, you do sports. How do you do your sports? Oh, you do a food program in New Mexico. What's it like? Do you have, so you can get those great ideas and you can get your more buy-in now.
Right. And when you're doing that with your board, and imagine it's a mingle moment, and you're talking to a board member, and you can say, what other boards do you serve on? And they say, oh, I serve on this board or this board. Well, what do y'all do for fundraising? And it's like, oh, that's a great idea. Why don't you bring it up for this organization? Or, oh, that's cool, So you really have to create a culture and an environment. And that is one of the ways that you can do it. If you want to lean into fundraising with your board, one, I'll recap it because I only got to 2 so far. One is make sure that you're talking about fundraising during the recruitment process.
You've got to be upfront.
1A is make sure when you're talking about fundraising during the recruitment process, there is a pathway. And what I mean by that is You say each board member is responsible for raising $5,000. This is how they're responsible for raising that $5,000. Yes, you're going to talk about some transactional things. You're going to say something like each board member is responsible for selling a table to an event. But we also do some relational things, which is the peer-to-peer.
Yeah.
People asking people. And so in people asking people, we expect that you generate this much. And don't worry, we're going to train you. There's the other part. We're going to train you because people have a real fear around asking for money. So take some time in your board training, 20 minutes of fundraising training, whether that is coming in and doing the hokey thing, which is acting things out, acting out rejections, acting out objections, acting that out. Some other easy tips that you can do is come in with a list of donors that have recently given to the organization, divide that up amongst your board members, give them a script to just call and say thank you. That is fundraising. That's 15% of fundraising is saying thank you. So all of these mission moments, 20 minutes of board training on the agenda, have them actually do it, talk about fundraising. That's how you're going to create this board that will help you fundraise.
How do you deal with if you have somebody who is, I mean, there are going to be people who are absolutely terrible at it and or terrified of it.
Right.
How do you, and you still want them on your board?
Yes.
How do you integrate those kind of folks? Because one thing you don't want to do is I'm all for in kind and I'm all for time and all those time, talent, treasures. Treasures is what keeps the lights on. Treasures is what makes sure your awesome employees don't leave. So there's got to be, there's an emphasis on that, but we don't want the guy who, you know, what's more valuable, the person who shows up to 100 meetings and raises $500, or the person who shows up to a quarter of the meetings but raises, you know, $10,000.
So here's my thing on this, and I'm probably hardcore on this. That's why I say you talk about recruitment, you talk about fundraising during the recruitment process, because there is time, there's talent, and there's treasure.
Right.
And so you need to define what that treasure is for your organization, and then say, these are the people that can hit that treasure. So if your treasure is every board member is going to raise $1,000, then that your list is longer than if every board member is going to raise $10,000. Of
course.
It shortens the list. So now let's say if you have someone who say, yeah, I can raise $10,000, and they didn't raise the $10,000, but they gave an exceptional amount of time, then I believe that there are some exceptions to that, but they're few and far between.
Right.
I mean, so I'll say this again. In one of the organizations where I serve, their bylaw says each board member is required to raise $5,000. And then if they do not, but their time, there was some type of statement, then the executive committee can waive that requirement.
Gotcha.
Right? So it can be written in there. But again, I truly believe this. You can be inclusive and exclusive based on what your minimum is.
Yep. I mean, you want to, like I said, you don't want to build a resentment between board members, because I lost a board member because she was our major fundraiser and she had a down year, which was still up for like 90% of the world. And she felt like she left the board because she felt like she failed us. And it was like, she was like $7,000 short from what she usually does. But she, like I said, she felt like she failed us. And I was like, no, you didn't
tell us. You've been knocking it out of the park all this time. Yeah. So,
I guess just because we wanted to keep this around, we're at 19 minutes and 32 seconds. So we want to keep this it's around the 20-minute mark. I'll let you talk about encouraging, celebrating, when board members, do anything on the fundraising realm.
Yeah, here's the thing. I want to use this time to give my quick formula, because fundraising, look, 5% of fundraising or 10% of fundraising is identifying people. The next 10% is qualifying people. Then 60% of fundraising is cultivating, which is building the relationship. 5% is asking for money. And then 15% is saying thank you. That's fundraising in its entirety. So when you have people, when you have board members, you need to figure out where they fit into that fundraising pie. So some board members are just they're going to be door openers. That means that they're just going to introduce you to people in their circle. That's what they're going to do. They're not going to be the one to say, will you consider an investment of $10,000 in our organization? They're not. What they're going to do is open the door for the CEO or the development person, right? Leverage the relationship. That's what they're going to do. Then the 60%, which is the cultivators, they build relationships. I love a board of cultivators because they're going to take people out to dinner. They're going to talk about us at the Rotary meeting. They're going to talk about us at the chamber meeting. They're going to pick up the phone and talk about us. They're going to send, thank you, all of that stuff like that.
Right.
Then you're going to have a few that will ask for money. Like I said, I had a board of 21. I think I had like two or three ask for money. And then you want some people that are going to thank the people. So if you have all of those slots filled by board members, then you are going to raise money. But you cannot disqualify people because they won't ask for money, especially if you have not trained them, and especially if you don't know where the ask fall in that fundraising pot. Now, did I answer your question?
No.
Okay, what was the question?
The question was how you celebrate them, though.
Let's celebrate them. Okay, so I'm an activator. I don't like celebrating too much. I like hitting the next goal. So this is why it's hard. But I will say this, because I'm not a celebrator, my board created a point system. And so we had a point system. So for every $1,000 that they raised, they got a point. For every they were committee chair, they got like 5 points. If they attended a meeting, they got like another point. And the whole goal was to get 15 points. Right. And at the end of the year, when they got their 15 points, we had a board member. This was not from our organization's budget at the time. We had a board member who took everybody out who reached their point. He took them out for like a steak dinner as a collective dinner, which is really cool. But we also had a big gathering for the organization at our annual Christmas banquet. And we gave board member of the year.
Yep.
We recognized board members who had perfect attendance. We recognized board members who did their individual, in one campaign is what we called it, gift. So we focused in on the behaviors that we liked, and we honored them for those behaviors.
Quick question though, what do you do? See, we had a point system too, and the way we did it though is because my board members were, and I see their point. I can agree with this. I mean, they're volunteers, so you don't want to be militant. But if you're going to be a volunteer for my organization, whatever organization that is, you got to do it well. You've got to be a contributor. And so what we came up with on our side was consequences. And ours was based on, I mean, if you did 50% of everything, you get 90 points. And your goal was to get to 90 points. So everything we needed you to do, if you did 50%, and we had people who had like 200 points, so it's not a hard, but if you're like at 50, we're like, if you're less than 90 come December 31st, thanks, rack 'em and plaque 'em. Thanks, or plaque 'em and rack 'em. And we get, because if there's not a consequence, and I really want to be on this board, you've got to be part of the solution. Yes.
And at that annual banquet, we plaqued them and we thanked them. So we celebrated them really hard and recognized that this is their last year on the board. And we thanked them for everything that they did in front of the staff, in front of the spouse, because we didn't want to depart, on bad terms. So yeah, of course, that's why you have the expectation form. That's why you have, our bylaws were written in a way that held us really accountable to that. So we had to 30 days in advance, we had to know our slate of officers and we had to know who was coming on our board. So like now, like November, before the December meeting, that all had to be finalized. And so because of that, we were very much on top of it. What I realize a lot when I work with organizations is they don't have a method into which to transition people off and on the board. I talk to people all the time that's like, oh, they've been board chair for like 12 years and they just won't give it up.
Yeah,
I'm like, what do you mean? You just why you got bylaws, like follow your bylaws, but no one's following the bylaws.
Term limits too.
Yeah, term limits. It's all there more than likely in your bylaws. But if you got your 501c3 and you didn't look at your bylaws since then, come on now, that's on you. And if your bylaws need to be amended, then have the board amended. It's a great project for the board.
The board, yes. But you as the CEO, you need to give your input because that's also important, or you'll get crazy stuff.
Yes. So your bylaws is a tool. So then use it. And you can put in your bylaws, again, I'll go back to one of the boards that I serve on. In the bylaws, it says that each board member will buy a table for this event.
Right.
That's it. It's in the bylaws. I knew it when I said yes, that I was obligated to that.
Right.
So, and I've seen it on another client's bylaws. But I always say, what do your bylaws say? And they're like, oh, we haven't read those.
Yeah.
Or, oh,
we don't always give that. Well, okay. I'm going to make a segue here because this is kind of a discussion / partial commercial for the S&B Masterminds, which you and I are hosting. We'll talk about this is one thing, and when we do the masterminds, we'll talk about this. But one of the other things is doing a good board orientation. You don't want to just put those bylaws. Here's a binder. Here's the bylaws. Go.
And go. Here you go. And who does your board orientation? We're down a rabbit hole, but I didn't do my board orientations. My board members did my board orientation. I put the agenda together, but the treasurer talked about the budget. The first vice president talked about board nominations. The board chair talked about what the expectations are, because I'm not a board member. I am the CEO. And so the board is responsible for the board.
Plus, it's always hard to tell. These are the people who ultimately are your bosses who could fire you, and telling them what to do. You don't want to rub them wrong, kind of thing either. Right. But all that to say is, what we're talking about here is our S&B Masterminds, which is going to be a 1 year kind of thing. Now, I was pricing out for everything that we're giving to everybody. We're going between the average, depending on what platform, which package you do, and that when we say package, it's paying at one time, paying quarterly, paying monthly.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bunch of different options. It's going to average around $250 per month. It's the max that it would average for you. If you look at all the stuff that we're doing, and we're having a monthly, like a master class where we'll talk about stuff like we're talking right now. It'll be done twice, once by Sabrina, once by me, same topics, but so we can talk, and it's going to be and we're doing that very specifically at different times too. So if you're a morning person, whatever, you go attend to Sabrina's this time. If you want, you attend mine. I'll do mine later in the day, so you can attend mine, whatever works best for your schedule. Not to mention, Sabrina and I both go different ways. You can attend both if you want. We're going to do grant writing stuff quarterly.
He's going to do grant writing stuff
quarterly, though. We'll have the opportunity to do that.
And when we say grant writing stuff, I really want people to hear this one, because I think this is, thank you. It's actually grant walkthroughs. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people don't. I'll get back into this. I think I said this the last time too. That's Walmart and that Spark application. So it's going to be a walkthrough.
We can do some. Yeah, we'll do some. Probably have some time. I mean, we're putting this together on what exactly we're going to talk to you
bylaw reviews
on the grant. But we got to do walkthroughs on government grants. Those are monsters. Those are huge. I mean, my FEMA grant that I've been talking about has taken me a good solid 5 days of just focus on that kind of thing.
Are you on SAMS.gov? Do you have your case number? It's not DUNS anymore. What is it called now?
UEI. Do you have a UEI? Because you got to.
You have that. Yeah.
Not hard to get, but you got to do it right. Mm-hmm. So you getting all that in place, or there's something as simple, but as Sabrina alluded to, so as complex, as difficult as a Spark grant on the steps going through that. So I just got, in fact, I just helped the customer get through that, and it was crazy because it's like such an easy grant to get, but it's so hard to register for. So we're going to do that. We're going to have 2 boot camps, which will
Yes.
which are not going to be Sabrina and I. We're going to hire somebody, talk to one of our friends. I mean, again, we always talk about we've been in this half a century, so we know a lot of people who can maybe talk about training your staff, who can talk to you about writing a good budget. I mean, I've written a good budget. Sabrina's written good budgets,
Yes.
but somebody who might be like just really good at it, so who can
Right.
give you the good ins and outs, or even something, how to do your marketing better. Oh
Yes.
yeah, I'm putting stuff on social media and that's not good enough. Those kind of things.
No.
So you're going to get all of that in there. You're going to have time to talk to us. And one thing that, Sabrina, I don't think that you and I have focused on enough is both you and I are certified trainers.
Yes, we're both certified trainers I'm a master trainer, Boys and Girls Club of America. So.
Well, not just that. I mean, I did the Boys and Girls, but also I got mine through a college as well.
Oh yeah, Clemson University. You did the Clemson program. We've done the Harvard program. So you're getting all of that.
Getting all of that knowledge, all that time to sit down with us one-on-one and say, hey, I hate my job, or I don't think I'm doing a good job, or I think I'm doing a good job, but I don't know the next level. I don't know where to go. I don't know what's next. How can I get better? All those things. We can talk to you about that. That's all built in. And like I was saying back before, when I was mentioning the price, $250 on average per month, stuff like this that we're doing is running easily $1,000, $1,500 a month. Sabrina and I are giving you the benefit of our expertise, and we're trying to do and get this out to as many people as we can. One of the goals is, you guys have all heard my story. I was a small club. I didn't have any resources. I didn't have any knowledge. I was in your shoes, and we want to try to elevate your smaller clubs and big clubs. This is for big clubs too. Don't get it wrong, but we're making it affordable for everybody. So your small club can slowly work its way to a medium club, big club, or organization, I should say. I'm thinking Boys and Girls Club. But so you can do that. And that's important to remember, because there are so many, we've talked before about how many nonprofits there are, and how many more nonprofits join the world in the United States every day, and how many of them fail. So, and
more
if you
than
fail,
50% fail.
And if you fail, how many people are you serving? How many dogs are you saving? How many homeless people are getting to eat? None, because you're out of business.
Right.
So we want to make sure you can get that good knowledge, get those roots in the ground to understand how this works and how you need to do it so you can be successful.
Right. And that's why we invite you. So we'll get questions and we'll be able to answer questions like this. So Andrea is here and she says, some boards have unlimited term limits. Is this a bad idea, or do you see some positives? Okay, Andrea, this is my thought. Brian, I'll let you do your thought. This is my thought. Look, my organization, we have 1 year, 2 year, and 3 year staggered terms, right? Those were the term limits. However, if a person was in a 3-year slot, let's say, and their 3 years was up, we could still renew them for another 3-year term if there was available slot. And let's say they were in their second 3-year term and their time was up, and I had an open 3-year slot. They can move into that slot. Here's why for me in that scenario. I truly believe if you are an organization that invests in your board's development and they are excellent board members and they have the passion, they have the purpose, and they have the power, and they're using it for your organization, why would you ask them to exit the board? You put all that work and energy into them. That's one. That's my feeling. So the organization that I worked in, we've had some board members that were there 15 years. They did 5 3-year slots. Right. They produced, and as long as they're producing, I am okay with it. Now, the museum board that I serve on, you can only serve 2 3-year slots, and you have to roll off. That's it. You have to roll off. But I feel like in the roll off, you're going to lose some of those very good board members to another organization.
Okay. Now you could, I'm with you. I'm a big believer in term limits because what I've come to find, my experience, and I hope this answers you, Andrea, is I think it's important because they get comfortable. A long time ago, I was a city commissioner, and I served with this gentleman by the name of John Wilburn, who was great and taught me a ton of things. He had been a city commissioner for 24 years when I first started my first term. And one of the things that it causes you to recognize is you don't work with urgency. And so when he said, "Hey, I'm gonna," and John was so popular, he could have died and he would beat people. But one of the things that was important was that John would go, "We'll get to the roads next term. We'll get to the roads next term. And they get very comfortable with that. So when they have, when I ran, we didn't have term limits, and I said I was going to be a city commissioner for 4 years, and I know I could have gotten elected pretty easily for following years. I worked with urgency. I said I'm going to do this and this and this and this. And I did everything I said I was going to do as my campaign promises. Same thing with a board. If you say, look, you got 6 years, and it could be something as simple, by the way, like you said, is you don't want to lose them. So 6 years, off a year, and you can come back for another 6 years, that kind of thing. And during that 1 year, you might lose them, but I doubt it. If you stay on them and let them, keep in touch and know what we're doing. And hey, because you've been a board member for so long, and I know you love the golf tournament, why don't you come out on June 15th and join us for golf? And you recognize them and stuff, they'll come back.
Yeah,
if that's where
what
their heart
the
is.
museum does is they created an advisory board.
Right.
So if you're a high performer, after that 6 years, they move you onto the advisory board, and they keep you engaged, very much like you say. And then when that year is up, they ask you to come back.
Yep.
But very few have come back. That's my point. Very few have come back.
See, I didn't have that experience. We had people who they would want to come back because they knew what we were doing.
Right.
That's all.
So, well, we hope that answers your question, Andrea.
Yeah,
thank you for allowing us to demonstrate how the different opinions that you're going to get. Because here's the thing about nonprofits too. It's all best practices. And so my best practice experience may be different from Brian's best practice experience. And it's all about the organization. And so then you're going to be able to say, okay, this is what will work for my organization. And you will have 2 options to take back to the board for discussion. Based on our research, this is what high-performing organizations are doing. Let's talk about how this will work for our organization. So right. Brian has a grant deadline, y'all. I can see him moving.
Oh, no, I was this is, look at this. Look at these trees and how nice it is.
And one is changing colors.
You look behind you, you got these nice, comfortable chairs and stuff. This is just a really great area just to sit in with, as nice as it is today. I just want to stand up and look around and show everybody. So anyway, well, thank you, everybody, for listening to us. Look at the S&B Masterminds. It's nonprofitmasterminds.com. You can get in. We will have a limit of number of people we're going to serve because we don't want to, get too many people in there and water things down. So join us. But for development, $250 a month for everything you're getting from us. Grant writing. Again, we haven't officially said anything about money back guarantee, but we're to the point where we could probably go. We'll probably get your money back out of some of our ideas and some of our grants and some of those kind of things.
So perfect. Thank you, Brian. You have a blessed one. Go submit on your grant application, and we'll be here every Monday, or what's the day? Tuesday at 2 o'clock, pretty much. Yeah. So we'll be coming in and doing this. Thank y'all. Y'all be blessed. Bye-bye.
Bye.